Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Heidi from My Reading Life, here today to do a wrap-up currently reading video on this lovely sunny morning in April when it is currently 33 degrees out. Let's not even talk about it. Let's just get right into what I've been reading. So I've only completed one book thus far in April, and that book is Dragon Keeper by Robin Hobb. This is the first book in the Rainwild Quartet, which is the fourth group of books in the Realm of the Elderling series. And in this book, we're out of the Seven Duchies and we're back in the Rainwilds, where we're following a group of characters all connected to, in some way, the dragons that have hatched and who are currently outside of one of the Rainwild cities. And I don't want to go into it too much because it would be spoilers for the earlier books in the series. I found this book to be a little bit slow. Excuse me for the screen going blank there. I had actually started to read this about 3 or 4 years ago in ebook format and had gotten like halfway through it and then just put it down and never went back to it. But this time I listened to it on audiobook and I enjoyed it much more in that format. I still found it slow in the first half of the book, mostly because we're setting up, what the conflict and what the scene is for this 4 books in this series. And then the second half of the book, the action sort of starts to happen and the characters are known at that point and we're starting to see what's going to happen and how Robin Hobb is setting up the rest of the books in this quartet. So overall, a good book, but not a great book. Certainly doesn't live up to the last trilogy. Fitz and the Fool are not in this quartet. This is more sort of the continuation of what happened in the Live Ship Traders trilogy. So there was that one. And then the new audiobook that I'm listening to is Too Fat, Too Slutty, Too Loud, The Rise and Reign of the Unruly Woman by Helen Petersen. This is a nonfiction collection of essays all about different women. Basically, the premise of this is that each essay features a different woman who's been in the public eye and why they are subverting traditional women's roles in the world, whether they're Melissa McCarthy, who's too fat, or Madonna, who's too old, or Kim Kardashian? I can't even say her name, but you know who I mean. Too slutty. Nicki Minaj is another one. All of these women, in their own way, sort of have upended the traditional women's roles in today's society. These are really good. Like I said, I'm listening to them audio. These are really good if you're interested in feminism and pop culture and sort of where the two intersect and how women are changing the way women can act in society today. I'm enjoying this very much. The other thing that I'm currently reading in ebook is Why I'm No Longer Talking to White People About Race by Reni, Eddo-Lodge. This book has been talked about on several of the UK booktubers channels, which is how I get interested in it. This is another nonfiction book and it's all about race and racism in the UK. And I am not very far into it. It's a short book. It's less than 200 pages, I believe, and I'm only like on page 40 or something. So I'm just now getting into it. I'm very much enjoying the writing style, learning a lot about the history of racism in the UK, which being from the United States, I have not learned very much about it all. So definitely think this one's going to continue to be very good. Now, as for what I'm reading in physical format, I have started this nonfiction book, 5 Presidents, My Extraordinary Journey with Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson, Nixon, and Ford, written by Clint Hill with Lisa McCubbin. Clint Hill was a Secret Service agent for 5 different U.S. presidents. And he, in this book, is detailing his time spent with each of those presidents. I'm reading this as a buddy read with Patrice Jones. I've just started it. I'm like 3 chapters in or something. And I don't really want to say too much. I haven't yet had my first conversation with Patrice about this one, but very interesting concept of sort of an insider's look at different U.S. presidents. One little factoid that I have learned already that I'll share is that Eisenhower was a huge golfer and literally played golf almost every single day of his presidency. So as we know in the media, when Obama was pregnant, the conservative media liked to trash on him for how much he played golf. And now that Trump is president, you know, there's certain media outlets that are constantly keeping track of how many times he plays golf. But good old Eisenhower played golf every single day. So just keep that in mind. The other book that I'm reading is on the Women Prize for Fiction long list, and it is The Ministry of Utmost Happiness by Arundhati Roy. This is a library copy, and I am, where am I at in here? I am on page 115 of this novel, which takes place in India, and we're following our main character. You guys know, I'm so bad at character names. Anjum, who is, I guess we would label her intersex. She was born with both female and male reproductive organs and has chosen to basically live life as a trans woman, I believe, through at least as far as I've gotten in the first 100 pages of this book. And there's a huge cast of characters, there's tons of names, there's this whole, you know, quirky group that she lives with and is part of her community, basically. I'm interested in the story. I'm finding it hard going because there are so many Indian words used in the text and so many Indian place names, and I have to keep stopping and looking things up because I don't get the gist of what the author's trying to say. And the other thing is there are sort of these asides in the narrative that are talking about political upheaval and sort of the changing political parties in the national government. And I know literally absolutely nothing about Indian politics and Indian sort of power over the last 50 years or whatever. So that's been slow going for me as I try to get myself into the setting of this story and then understand all the points that are trying to be made. But like the overall like narrative thrust of this story with this community of basically drag queens and their friends and other people that are sort of connected to the community is super interesting. So it gives a different side of life in India that I knew nothing about. So gonna keep at it with this one. I hope that things will start to fall more into place with it as I go on. I'm gonna give it, you know, a good old college try to get through this one. So that's what I'm currently reading. Up next, if and when I finish any of these books and I want to add another book to the rotation, I have on my TBR this one that I just picked up from the library, which is Elmet by Fiona Mosley, also on the Women's Prize for Fiction long list. And I've heard tons of good things about this one, and I'm hoping that I will really like it. And so that will be the book that I pick up next. So that's where we are today on Friday, April 6th. I hope you're all doing well, and I will talk to you later.